with David Vaile. He's a cyber law researcher in the law faculty at the University of New South Wales, Sydney. David, thanks so much for speaking to us. We've never quite seen such an outage spread so quickly before. What do you make of this issue?
I think it's a real wake-up call because it reveals the dependency of so many different systems on a whole huge interlinked complex mass of IT services, of software, of computers, of networking, and also that a lot of that stuff is put together, not really made to last, not impregnable from outside attack if it was a security attack, but also not foolproof. And I think it turns out, we don't know now, but it turns out that it may well be down to a single file in a, there's a question about the language, but essentially an update of the CrowdStrike software that is sitting on top of lots of Microsoft Windows systems to try to prevent outside attacks, those sorts of things. And something went wrong. Apparently, there's a way that a technology person could sort of restart the computer and just turn off this one file and everything would be okay. But, you know, a little doctor's surgery in the country or a busy attendant at an airline, you know, they're not going to be able to do this. We don't know that this is the end of it. It's very hard to find out. So for most people, you just see this sort of chaos, and in a sense, that's a quite reasonable reaction. It shows that so many systems have fallen over from what shouldn't have happened, and what there should be some sort of resilience or protection against a single thing like this. Even bringing down one system, but bringing down a whole layer of them. So I think it's in one sense it's useful for us to know that it doesn't appear to be, you know, a live cyber attack. In one sense, in Australia, that's not very assuring because we've had masses of our prescription drug information hacked or lost sort of recently. So a lot of our health services and hospitals too are sort of going. So it's very close to that. But it does also remind us that it could be the sort of thing that happened if there was actually an attack.
Yes, I think this is the concern, David, for so many people, especially for those of us, myself included, when it comes to IT issues. It almost goes over my head sometimes. But when you hear things like outages, the first thing you think of is a security breach, and that your own information is now susceptible to hackers, because CrowdStrike says the issue has been identified, isolated, and a fix has been deployed. That's a direct quote from their CEO. But for most of us, what does that actually mean? Does it mean that people can still feel safe, that their data is protected?
Look, that's a very good question. Unfortunately, the short answer is that in the security area, IT security is over. No one can promise you that they can definitively always keep out a motivated intruder. And so anyone that promises you, we're trying really hard and your stuff is safe with us, you should be very careful about trusting that person because they're overstating the case. There's a lot of effort goes into keeping things secure, and in many cases, given the scale, the vast, constant scale of attacks from hackers, from criminals, from foreign states, from maybe some people inside our own countries, it's amazing that we don't get completely knocked over all the time. But the attacker's job is much easier. They only have to find a hairline crack to sneak through, whereas defenders have to have 100.0% perfect security, which is basically impossible. The problem is that is now very, very clear that's the true state of things. And so we shouldn't be building things that rely on that level of security. For a long time, I've been saying we should be pushing back towards data minimization, not these data lakes, not giving everything to AI.
David, sorry just to interrupt, but when you say data minimization, what exactly does that mean in very layman's terms, please?
Well, keep it simple. Just less is more. You know, we go on a diet. We don't eat junk food all the time. We know that we should be just trying to get by with the minimum. A lot of other areas we don't overbuild things, whatever. And it turns out that in engineering and in technology, the simplest and least thing that will do the job, including the least amount of information held for the least time, not transferred, that is a very good thing to work with. But it's the opposite of what a lot of really big IT firms like. It's a lot opposite of what a lot of governments sort of like. And so it's a very hard message to get across. Here, one of the things that struck me is that so many systems shouldn't necessarily have fallen over. They shouldn't have been so cross-linked and interdependent that, you know, one file breaking out, one sort of computer platform suddenly has, you know, pushed over everything. For instance, it is great, and we've heard in our country that the emergency phone calls, the 000 or 999, depending on what it is, that didn't fall over. That was protected. That was sort of separate from all of that. But things like payment systems, even Apple payment systems, from a different brand, a different platform, fell over. And people were saying, why did the cash registers go down? You know, why does a cash register in a little supermarket on my corner of my street, why does that have to be connected to everything, and, you know, vulnerable like that? And when it gets updated, doesn't get checked, and something just happened, you know, took hours. That's that complexity and that willingness to accept the extra little bit of convenience for joining it all together and just having the one thing, and don't worry about backups or you know, redundancy, those sorts of expensive things to keep it all safe. We've been sort of flying by the seat of our pants, and basically this is what happens randomly, but you know, eventually it was going to happen.
And we always seem to accept things that we possibly don't understand, but will also make our lives easier. David Vaile in Sydney, really good to get your analysis. Appreciate it. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.